In the Christian perspective, the human resistance to salvation is rarely about a lack of evidence and more about the complex architecture of the human heart, beginning with our deep-seated desire for autonomy. From the very beginning, humanity has struggled with the throne of self, where being saved feels like a threat to our independence, because it requires us to admit we are lost and surrender control to a higher authority. This is compounded by our natural fear of the light. As described in the Gospel of John, there is a certain comfort in the familiar shadows of our current lives, and the radical transformation promised by faith can feel more like a loss of identity than a gain of freedom. We often prefer the misery we can control over a joy that requires us to change. Furthermore, the human race is socially and psychologically wired for transactional merit, leading us to find the concept of a free gift, or grace, almost offensive to our pride. We want to earn our way and take credit for our goodness, making the simplicity of the gospel a stumbling block because it demands a level of humility that goes against our survival instincts. Ultimately, the choice to stay unsaved is often a protective measure, a way for the ego to avoid the vulnerability of admitting it cannot save itself, choosing the safety of the known over the perceived risk of total surrender to a creator. This drive for personal sovereignty is a relentless dictator within us. We view God not as a benevolent father, but as a rival claim to our inner kingdom. Every decision to follow Christ feels like a loss of our personal micromanagement, a painful concession that our carefully constructed systems of self-justification are inadequate. We fear that surrendering the throne means losing the power to dictate our own meaning and morality, even when our self-rule has led us to burnout and disillusionment. The anxiety is palpable. What if the new path requires us to give up the very vices that offer us temporary, though hollow comfort? The darkness, while painful, is predictable. The fear of the light is profound because it exposes every hidden flaw. It's not just a theological concept. It's a deep psychological aversion to transparency. To step into the light means accepting a radical, unsettling change that often requires social dissonance. Our relationships, built on shared cultural norms, can feel threatened by a new countercultural identity. The transformation promised by grace feels too disruptive, demanding a death to the old self that our survival instincts desperately fight against. This struggle is intensified by our ingrained meritocracy. We live in a world where value is equated with effort and achievement. When the gospel offers salvation gratis, it clashes violently with our sense of fairness. We instinctively feel that if salvation is free, it must be worthless, or worse, that it undermines the lifelong striving of those who feel they have earned their goodness. Grace is often rejected because it denies us the satisfaction of claiming personal credit. The simple, unearned nature of the gift is an insult to the self-made man or woman. It requires us to acknowledge a dependency that our culture has taught us to despise. Therefore, the final barrier to surrender is often the sheer act of letting go. It is the ego's final, desperate attempt to remain the author of its own story. The reluctance is not a theological critique of doctrine, but an existential refusal to embrace vulnerability. It is easier to live in the familiar pain of self-reliance, which offers the illusion of control, than to accept the boundless, unconditional love that demands total, vulnerable trust in a power beyond ourselves. This profound reluctance is the quiet daily battle for the human heart.